if IG are preferring to go with a Yone this early on, you could still slam Jace and then guarantee Sejuani afterwards, but they wanna,
They just want it.
they want
the
to
combo.
they want to make sure that the Sejuani doesn't get sniped away by Tarzan on the flip side. But I imagine you already have a Varus, you have a Poe comp already set up and ready to go. You can pair that with the Jace right here, right now.
Absolutely you can, and it will give you a ton of control just over the areas that we're really trying to fight around, all of these early skirmishing objectives, and then those later game team fights. Tarzan gonna go towards the Lilia right here. It's a very different playstyle from what Jiejie is going to be looking for on the Sejuani, far more focused on just farming up and getting to the point later on where you can deal all of the damage, and you're not too worried about the Sejuani making your life uncomfortable. And it is going to be the Tristana locked in right here. Alright, so we're going to get the double ADC combo between Shanks and Hope right now. It's very aggressive as a pickup, and it also means that this composition from AL already looking very much towards the later stages of the game. IG, they are also going to be playing a little bit towards the late game because that's when the Yone is going to pop off, but with the Sejuani, they're unlocked to now try play around some priority lanes and get themselves advantages early.
This is so fascinating that Jace went this far down the draft, since we've seen it either first picked on blue or red side, but I think I can understand the line of thinking that AL had once the Jace was kind of offered up on the table. You wanted to get an ideal matchup that can punish and pressure the Yone early on, because once Yone gets that item advantage, when he's able to scale freely into the late game, he does become a menace. He does become almost too unstoppable to deal with. Tristana gives you that advantage, and then already pairing it up with a strong AP jungler of Tarzan's choice, I guess you just had to concede at some point and just say, well, you know what? I think it is totally fine that we let them have the Jace as long as we have a way to stop Rookie from getting monstrously ahead on the Yone.
Yeah, I really like this Ziggs ban right here out of AL because IG's profile is very AD focused at the moment. You are relying currently on the little bits of AP damage that you can get out of a Sejuani. Not going to be enough. They're going to need an APC in this bottom lane in order to make this composition work. And without the Ziggs available, you're kind of running out of the really good options at the moment. I would be surprised if they, decide to go towards the support at the moment and then wait to see what of the APCs left available is going to be interesting to go towards. But I'm really not sure what they're going to want. Seraphine's not that strong at the moment, and I think you're going to need even more damage than that. Sort of game where Gwen would have been great, but they've already banned it.
I think you're almost hoping on the side of IG that Anyone's Legend does not lock in a tank top laner.
Yeah.
Because if he does lock in a tank top laner, then surely you have to splash in magic damage. Otherwise, there's just no way that you're going to be able to, you know, kill it with all physical damage and a tank that just gets to stack armor for free. And Anyone's Legend, I think, very aware of that. I'm very certain that this will be a poppy for Flandre in the top lane. Should be a, you know, pretty... not necessarily like a hard winning matchup into Jace. It's not a counter pick, but it's something that can absorb the pressure. It can deflect a lot of any of the early melee harass with the steadfast presence. I might be wrong. Maybe Anyone's Legend are actually just going to take the poppy into support, and they're going to give Flandre the Mbessa instead.
I mean, it makes sense. The Poppy does so much right here into this composition. There are a ton of dashes that you're going to be able to disrupt, and you can stop the Alistar from having anywhere near as much threat onto you early on in the laning phase. But at the same time, in the laning phase with an APC, you're not necessarily looking to go for these really big kills. Really not sure what you have available to you. Do you actually just fully go in and think you're not going to have problems with tanks right here? Apparently that is going to be the answer. The zero real AP damage composition right here out of IG. Very much a composition that's going to be focused on getting themselves to that 2, maybe 3 item point and then popping off in these team fights. A lot of poke available to them as well. The composition, it does work, and there isn't one mass tank. Kael won't have anywhere near as much gold as he would as a top lane Poppy to be able to get that tanky. Still, though, I do worry a little bit because of this damage profile.
Yeah, I mean, definitely right on the one hand that it is mostly physical damage coming out of IG, but because there is no single champion that is going to be a dedicated front line that gets to stack a lot of armor and will be able to boast, you know, three full tank armor items by the time we get to those late game team fights. Poppy support at most is going to have her fully upgraded support item and then maybe you know, a Locket or,
Yeah.
I don't know, if she's doing super well for herself. I don't know what supports build these days, if they're, you know, have a large gold injection as a tank, you know, like Unending Despair, do they still go Heartsteel? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, still right on the fact that, like, Anyone's Legend kind of, or not Anyone's Legend, IG, lucked out on the fact that Anyone's Legend could have smashed a, you know, tank top laner into Jace, and they said, nah, we'll just put it support instead.
Yeah. Ornn was still available, and he is in a pretty good spot at the moment, and could have been the sort of unkillable tank you just could not possibly have dealt with. Something else, maybe even like the Zac in the top lane, Malphite. All of these are options that were still available, could still have been picked up here, and without it, it does mean that this AL composition is also a little bit squishy, but I don't think either of these compositions are going to be worrying about running out of damage. These are incredibly aggressive comps from both of these two in this first game.
Enthusiastic Jaios coming out in the stadium for both IG and AL. I think I mostly heard IG Jaios, but I want to say there's some AL love in there, at least in the beginning. But between these two teams, you called it, damage is plenty in supply. And when there's multiple threats on both sides, 3 for IG, 4 for Anyone's Legend, then you know we're in for a wild ride in the mid-game skirmishes and the late-game team fights, Bloxer.
It should be absolutely insane once we get later on. Of course, we've got a lot of League of Legends to play to see how these teams are going to be looking coming into the mid to late game. Right now, they're already going to start with a little bit of poke going on. Both junglers going to run into each other. TheShy and Flandre already doing a lot of damage to each other as well. We've got a fight on multiple fronts here.
Tarzan ramped up on the Conqueror stacks, and because Shanks is a range champion level 1, just using that priority to try and force Jiejie off of these Raptors here. One more Q, the smite goes over to Tarzan, but is not level 2 yet, but Flandre was putting the beatdown on TheShy as Tarzan forces the flash out of Jiejie. Rookie answers back and gets one on the Shanks with both flashes traded, and in the end, it is a scrap in the chicken pit.
It really is. I wasn't expecting these teams to actually go all in the end, but they do. And like you said, it is going to be a ton of damage going down, a couple of kills as well. And the split of the kills, I think, is very interesting. I think both teams are going to be very happy with the way that this one has worked out. Flandre being able to pick up a kill is going to make this matchup into the Jace even better to be able to play out. It makes it a lot less of a just straight up skill matchup. Once you're actually able to go back to base and spend that gold, it's going to be a lot easier to play out. But Rookie getting that early kill, exactly what you want on a Yone. This is the issue.
TheShy took electrocute in this matchup. Oh, just one more range auto attack. There it is, and just escapes the turret range to not give another kill over to the Flandre. He may have lost the first blood over to the Mbessa, but he answers right back.
And this is the problem, right? You don't get to go back to base initially to spend that gold. You're just stuck in the lane, and it doesn't matter at that point that you got yourself that early kill. You don't have any of the actual benefits of it already. And it's still just going to be a one-tap right there from TheShy. Flandre wasn't even able to get level 3. With level 3, it's a little bit easier to be able to survive that one out. And that is going to completely plaster over any of the benefit you would have just gotten from the early skirmishes.
Well, this has been a fun 3.5 minutes so far. Bloxer is Shanks now going to use the power of that Tristana in this Yone particular matchup, where not only you're a ranged champion into a melee champion that has a conditional gap closer, as well as a mini dash that just blinks you right back to a certain point. It is very difficult for Yone to operate this unless the Tristana does not play well. Kael gets the cleanse out of Gala, immediately able to arcane shift out of there. But so far, decent pushing lanes on a majority of these setups here for Anyone's Legend.
Interesting, that early flash out of Kael without actually having the Hex Flash either, so is just going to be missing out onto that one. Jiejie potentially looking for a gank right here onto Shanks.
Jiejie doesn't have flash, can't close the distance, and Shanks being able to get a full explosive charge means that he still had a rocket jump ready to go in case Jiejie wanted to really press on forward. And the fact that Tarzan shows up through mid lane, I think he got the respawn Raptors too. So Tarzan is just trying to play the the counter jungle game as much as possible, trying to play for the easy AoE camps and really starve Jiejie out and give himself that natural level lead over him.
Exactly, and that's what you have to do in this matchup right here, because Jiejie is going to be much better at the ganks early on, and is very much going to be focusing on trying to get himself some wins through his lanes. He's also got a lot more winning lanes to really be able to play around. There's a lot more damage that his carries have been doing onto their opponents that unlocks potentials for tower dives and things like that. For Tarzan, just need to power farm his way through this early game and hope that they can get this composition into the mid to late game, because once you get there, the Lilia can do so much, the Tristana can do so much, so can the Varus.
Oh!
Thing is though, this top lane matchup, we highlighted it as one of those key matchups that we were really going to be looking towards, and already for good reason, it's been popping off. Flandre nearly gets the kill back, but I don't even think TheShy was too worried about that one, was happy for the trades. It's very knowledgeable in these matchups as well, and you can see right now, both the support and the jungler for IG going to be up in this top side area, as we've got those grubs spawning in about 25 seconds time.
Yeah, that was quite the close one there. TheShy forced to recall, and Meiko trying to catch this wave as long as possible. But Kael, well aware of the volatility in this topside matchup, tries to at least help Flandre escort it in, but because Meiko is so healthy on this Alistar, and they don't have knowledge of where Jiejie is on the Sejuani, they can't really get that aggressive, because if you try to walk up into the Alistar, well, now you're giving him a free pulverize into a headbutt combo, still has flash available. Unfortunately, you just can't threaten him in that state.
No, you really can't. Not when there's a Sejuani potentially lurking in the wings. The CC combo between these two is just insane. You can see everybody is in the area for these grubs. Jiejie probably looking to just steal one away, jump over the wall. Has to flash out. Wow, that's not ideal.
Yeah, this is the power of the Lilia, especially when she already has an advantage over something like a Sejuani. Forced to flash away. Could try and go back over with a Q, but that would be certain death, and Jiejie is not going to risk it. First 3 grubs of the game goes over to AL.
Despite the fact that IG had got themselves into this top side earlier on, they were in the better position to be able to move over, but it's just like you said, the power of these champions able to go in. Being able to pick up all 3 of those grubs is going to be huge. They've got a composition that can use them incredibly effectively. We talk a lot about how grubs are great for short-range compositions who struggle a bit once they get onto towers, needing that bit of extra damage. Well, you're not going to struggle to get towards tower, not with a double AD combo. And with a Tristana, getting as many of these grubs as possible early on is going to leave these towers incredibly vulnerable to just getting chunked down immediately. Meiko takes big damage, isn't going to die here, but still going to have to go back to base. Oh,
the Chain of Corruption is dinged by level 6. Here comes Tarzan trying to anticipate the flash by Meiko. Just goes in with a Q flash of his own. Lilting Lullaby gives a dosage of NyQuil to both Gala and Meiko. And both of them, you know, taking a dirt nap under the tower.
That's not ideal. Hang on, TheShy jumping in right here. Has to flash away. Yeah, if you let that full combo go down from Shanks, you're going to be a little bit vulnerable to dying. But now TheShy is going to have the poke potential. And this has been such an explosive early game. The last couple of days, the early games have been pretty quiet from a lot of teams. Not the case for these two.
Definitely been a scrappy one between Anyone's Legend and IG. And while we had some criticisms about the draft choices, hang on. More action in the mid lane. Flandre could be in trouble. Public Execution doesn't give him the range that he really wanted to use to escape. But meanwhile, on the bottom side of the map, Kael somehow got a kill on TheShy. I don't even know if it was a solo kill or if Shanks was able to pick up at least some local experience off of it. But both top laners going down.
Yeah, not having the best times of it when faced with other matchups. The CC chain in the mid lane was just so ridiculous. Flandre, even though he manages to land that public execution, it doesn't get him anywhere that he really needed to be. And it's so tricky to try to get away from a Sejuani Alistar combo. The second that they get on top of you, if you are single target, if you don't have friends around, it's pretty much going to be instant death. I mean, we can watch back. This is going to be the top lane play, in fact, where Meiko just takes so much damage. And like you said, the last minion to die, literally the last minion to die, just gives Hope that level 6. And the second that you get that, it's all too easy for Tarzan to be able to jump in. Gets that Lilting Lullaby off, and the kill is going to go over to AL. But it's just been constant damage right here. This is the play we didn't end up seeing. Oh, he just takes 7 tower? What? Hello? Raafaa, what did I just watch? What was that? Huh?
Bloxer, as I've come to understand it, you know, in my couple of months watching LPL full time, this is a normal TheShy experience that we just witnessed. As Jiejie now trying to go for a quick little Gromp steal. Meiko is gonna be trying to escort his Boar Rider out to safety. And because TheShy is looming on the top side river here, he does have an escape route. And thank God, because the rest of Anyone's Legend was ready to swarm.
As it's going to be even more fighting around this top side as we've got the next set of grubs spawning. Just about 40 seconds time. Last time around, AL were just able to walk their way in, muscle their way into the pit and pick up all 3. They're able to get 6. It would be such a big benefit to them. IG cannot afford to let that happen. And without a Drake spawning at the same sort of time, there's no real reason to not at least try to fight for these right now. You can see Jiejie, he's in his bottom side of the map, still does have enough time to be able to get up towards these grubs, and is going to have plenty of his teammates in the area too.
Now I want to look forward to the next objective, since it is the second grub rotation. So far, Anyone's Legend, because of the first ones here, it doesn't seem like IG really are set in a position to contest once again. Leandri's rush already completed for Tarzan, just off the strength of the early counter jungling he was able to get.
You have to go here.
A couple of the kills in early. Jiejie has flash this time around, is able to at least risk and go for one growth steal, but now he turns it because he's got Rook in his back pocket. But Keeper stored it from Kael. But wait a minute, Rookie's able to snap back with the solo unbound, but that might have been ill-timed because Shanks now has an opportunity to hop, skip, jump, and Gooma stomp all over Rookie.
Oh no!
He pushed him away!
Shanks, no!
He pushed him away! Hope is able to pick it up and give him a reset, but it's not enough for Shanks to escape. The rest of IG being able to collapse. Oh, that was a mess.
That was horrific. Everybody in that team fight, it felt like, made a couple of mistakes right there. Kael, that was a gorgeous ulti. Being able to use that Keeper's Verdict to such great success. Without that Keeper's Verdict, that would have been an IG team fight win all day. It looked like Tarzan was just going to be fully dead from the CC chain. Didn't end up happening. Now TheShy gonna get jumped in. No, Tarzan decided he wanted the Scuttle Crab instead. I feel like if Tarzan had come down with Flandre in the lane already, that could potentially have been a kill. But it's good. Things gonna chill out just a little bit. I want a replay. Yes, give me a replay of this, because oh boy, are there a lot of mistakes. This initial bit with the Glacial Prison straight into the Fate Sealed is gorgeous, and the ulti from Kael, all 3 of the surrounding members, is brilliant. But the Soul Tether brings Rookie straight back. Why does Shanks think this kills? It doesn't kill. Good thing you have Hope in the area, but Hope has to flash for that one. That's actually a very big flash to lose out onto the backside of this one. And what was it? It was about 2-3 kills apiece right there. In the end, the gold's pretty much going to be even. 2 of the grubs taken away by IG, so they stop it from being a terrible gap between the grubs. Overall, I think IG going to be pretty happy with the way that that one worked out.
Yeah, if I'm a glass half full kind of guy, I would say that Shanks did an alley-oop with Hope, you know, and they just want to go for style points. It came at the cost of 2 flashes, but you know what? We got him, baby. You know, that's a highlight montage reel. If I'm a half glass empty kind of guy, I'm thinking, what the hell? You just, you know, burn summoner spells for no reason. What's going on, guys?
Look, it all depends on if this comebacks to bite Hope or not, because the flash already about halfway through to being back up and available. If it gets punished right here, if IG are able to recognize the fact that Hope did have to flash for that one and punish him, then all of a sudden that play looks a heck of a lot worse in retrospect. If not, it's not going to be the end of the world. It was just another kill being picked up by one of these key carries for AL. Someone we've talked about a lot, you know, we were speaking about how we wanted Hope to be able to step up more. That was a good look at the very beginnings.
Meiko's got to be careful. He might have just awoken a very angry deer who is now putting the lulting lullaby onto Jiejie, and the rest of Anyone's Legend trying to run him down. But thankfully for Jiejie's case, he is too tanky, now acquiring a Heartsteel in his wallet.
Yeah, actually dealing a decent amount of damage back as well, dissuading any extra plays from going down. But still, there's going to be a lot of pressure right here onto the turret. And actually, Kael goes flying in. He might just get the solo here. What?
Kael is on a mission to get as many kills for his squad as possible, and if he's going to be the sole benefactor of them, so be it. That is another one on the board for AL, and the tier 1 turret going over their way.
what did we say? You won't have as much gold on this Poppy as you would in a lane, so you're not going to be such a tank. It's not going to be such an issue that there's no AP damage available for IG. Well, if you get a ton of these kills, you're actually going to be getting towards being tanky a heck of a lot quicker and making it uncomfortable for IG. Right now, Kael's been popping off that Keeper's Verdict earlier on. That just solo kill pretty much right there. Really nice looks. And using this Poppy in a game with so many dashes on the opposition team to such great effect already gives you some great opportunities moving forwards in this game as AL. This is someone they can really try to play around. I love it when a Poppy's looking proactive.
Yeah, because we don't see Poppy support that often anymore. There used to be a time where Poppy's support was, you know, pick or ban. It was being played in almost every single game. And part of me wants to say that was because of the lane swap meta being a thing, but not as much anymore. But Anyone's Legend getting so much off of the proactivity and the ruthlessness between Kael and Tarzan, who have now IG's core pinned under this tier 1 turret on the bottom side of the map. Meiko forced to pop the ultimate just to get the damage reduction to ignore all the damage that was coming from Shanks, but the rest of Anyone's Legend still pushing forward. Public execution right onto the board. Rider Meiko falls. That's ground beef on the menu, boys. It's gonna be pork on the menu too. TheShy falls as well, and IG lose 3 for nothing.
Oh, it was such a well-executed dive right there out of AL. They're able to pick up all of these kills. Flandre's even able to teleport top lane to stop this tower from falling. And this has just been a complete swing of the game right here for AL. They were in a good spot before. Now they've been able to crack open this gold lead up by about 3,000, picking up a Drake as well. Everything coming up AL at the moment. And it's off the back of some just lovely proactive plays out of Kael and Hope, using their ultis, using all of the damage they have available between them to set that dive up.
This is when Anyone's Legend is operating at their best.
Yep.
You have winning lanes that allow Tarzan to ruthlessly infiltrate the enemy jungler at all periods of the game. And then they do not stop with the pressure. They continue pushing you into the parts of your map where you feel like you're safe, and they quickly make you realize there's no room for you to go.
Oh, hang on, picture in picture. Flandre.
Good Keeper's Verdict by Kael. Punted Meiko, it looks like. And Flandre's able to escape thanks to his support, and KO's out of there with his own flash. Tarzan now in the middle of multiple members. He doesn't have a flash available. Oh, he used it towards the south side. Hope has to keep him alive, but Shanks is able to find the reset first on the swordsman, and now it's just a disaster. You called it, Bloxer. IG thought that they might have sprung a trap, but it's Anyone's Legend to pull out the counter trap card and say, IG, you're the one that got sprung.
Yeah, Uno reverse right here out of AL, and they're going to be able to grab themselves even more off the back end of this team fight. Herald to AL, they are in complete control of this game, and this is what we were worried about a little bit by IG. If you're not able to get yourself that first kill and really just turn this team fight around from that point onwards, what can you do? You've got a great poke on the composition, but the straight up all-in potential isn't necessarily there. Flandre getting jumped initially, and like you called out, Kael was able to at least pump the cow away, buys enough time for Flandre to be able to survive this one, and once the rest of the cavalry comes charging in, it just doesn't feel like IG have enough damage between them to be able to do anything. Rookie even completely whiffed on that Fate Sealed, and you cannot afford to do that right here on the Yone.
You know, in the IG series against BLG, I remember going back and watching some of Kadril's reactions to it and just seeing this poor, beautiful man trying to, you know, watch his favorite team, his favorite player, TheShy, try and pull out a miracle win, and just see him do disastrous things and just crash out and throw his chair aside. This might be another moment. I don't know if Kadril's watching, but I hope his heart is not broken once again, as Anyone's Legend is just doing a hell of a number against the IG squad today. Glacial Prison instantly cleansed by Hope. God, that was a Captain Jack cleanse right there. Perfect framing, too. Anyone's Legend is on form tonight, baby.
Not negative gaming, just normal TheShy experience. Unfortunately, very, very true. He managed to get himself a solo kill early on in the game, but from that moment on just really hasn't been able to get anything going. This was a risky composition out of IG anyway. We had question marks going in, whether they were going to have enough damage, whether they were really going to be able to make this composition work. So far, the answer has been a definitive no, but it feels like AL, they're just moving around the map better. This is the thing, right? IG, all the individual players are great, but whether or not they can put it together as a team has been the real question in whether or not they're going to be one of our top teams going forwards. AL, currently, they are having no such worries. They are constantly moving around the map as 2-man, 3-man, even 5-man units to make these plays happen. Now, we've got a couple of minutes until the next real big thing spawns. We will have an Atakan. I'd be surprised if we see the immediate engage towards it for AL. The next Drake coming up will be interesting, though. Soul point for AL in a minute and a half's time.
"20 minutes, as you called it, Atakan now spawned on the map. Kael might have found himself a couple IG members for an easy picking. Anyone's Legend is easily going to just trot on over. They're not even engaging at this point. They're just walking up and getting free kills.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I don't expect you to start the Atakan immediately, if you just catch the opposition jungler out wandering around in a place he has no business to be, then that's going to make it pretty easy to pick up. This is going to be a nice extra secure right here for AL. Just a little bit more towards their winning potential. A few more of those roses to be able to pick up, expand their lead even further. Not that they even necessarily needed it, up by 6,000 gold at this point in the game. We don't even have a Baron for them to turn towards. The next thing will be the Drake, 20 seconds time on that. And with resets coming through, AL going to be able to spend all of their gold, get themselves fully onto those 2 items, now well towards those 3rd items for a couple of these key carries, something that everybody on IG wishes they had.
Yeah, they are down 6,000 gold across the board. 2,000 in the jungle.
The Shy is up.
The Shy is up, baby. That's the Shy experience right there. The team might be losing, but at least the Shy is up in gold. We're going to see if he can actually make that feel impactful, since he did go for the higher damage build with a lot of more lethality items in his pockets. IG have leeched the dragon. Anyone's Legend trying to take a posture around the other side of the pit. But now they're just going to brute force their way into the river. The Shy pokes for an accelerated shock blast, and if that's all the damage, then I don't feel hopeful about IG's chances. Rookie goes for the engage. 1,500. Jiejie is able to secure the dragon, but at what cost? Public execution sets up another one to fall, and the rest of IG are just like dominoes as Shanks comes in and doesn't just tip them over. No, he blasts them down with a firing gunshot, and Gala is going to try to see if he can play a little sneaky game, but he sees a window. He's going to run for the hills, and thankfully for him, that Swirling Seed does not tag him for the slow.
Gonna be the only surviving member, but there was already a mid-wave pushing through for AL right here. They're also going to be able to jump Gala. I think he's going to get sandwiched right here. Hope potentially looking to go...
Hope is flanking him!
Yep, there it is.
Okay. You know what? He was trying to predict a shift there with that arrow.
Hey.
I know what you were looking for, Hope. You know, you're looking for a little style of points. So yeah, yep. It's all good. You guys are still 8,000 gold, but you know what? Desperate times call for desperate measures. Rookie is teleported in. He's going to look for a free picking on Navarus, maybe, but a flash of the blast cone. Does he get enough damage? Yes, he does. There's the soul unbound pop. Shanks now having to deal with the 1v2 on the Shy and Jiejie. He stuns him up with the permafrost, but now the Shy is forced to run away, and he gets a flash, and he's able to escape. But now it's the Boar Rider who is left to die for Anyone's Legend. And to IG's credit, I think they shored up the gold lead a couple thousand there with the shutdown bounties, but I don't know if it's enough, Bloxer.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. You've now got your jungler dead for 30 seconds. There's no big objectives coming up, so that's not going to be the end of the world. What do you end up bleeding through for it? We'll have a look back a good couple of minutes ago at this point to the fight. It was the dragon secured right here for IG. That is something. It can potentially extend this game for another 5 minutes, something this composition would love to see. But as soon as these team fights turn a little bit messy, that one last little bit of burn plus the Krugs, and then this TP play right here. Now the main thing is that Rookie gets this kill onto Hope. You can see right here when he gets that final Q off, that's 1,000 gold as the shutdown, but he does then immediately pop. It's something. It's a little bit back towards getting into this game right here for IG, and their composition does scale pretty well, so it's not the end of the world, this set of plays right here. Still, as AL, you're going to be more than happy with this one. They are in firm control of this one.
And to be fair, I'd rather see the losing team do
Go
something
for it.
like
Do
that
something.
to get any scraps of gold back, you know?
Yeah.
So, that is my props to IG. I still favor anyone's legend to be able to close this game out, but I have seen stranger things happen in this league. So
Absolutely.
anyone's legend, the game is yours to win, but it is also yours to lose. So clean this game out fast.
Yes, exactly. Close this one out, because the more and more items we end up seeing, specifically onto Rookie right here, the scarier this game is going to get. He's got those 2 items completed right now. Decent amount of damage. You really need that 3rd, if not that 4th, for the Yone to pop off in a true way. And if you do allow this game to stall out long enough for IG to be able to get those item breakpoints, that is a real risk. They are in such control of this game that they should not allow for this to happen. You can see right here, they're just stepping up, taking space. The tier 2 tower does fall. Meiko gonna go down as well, surely with the burn. Ooh, maybe just lives. Okay. It's not too
Thankfully, he's got a pretty powerful
Jiejie.
ultimate.
Wait, they get a kill.
Wait, Kael died.
Hang on.
IG, don't drop a
Okay.
single man in the siege. You know what? They lost a tier 2 tower, but the true shot barrage, I don't know who was it trying to hit. Maybe it was just trying to get some vision on where everyone is on anyone's legend, but
Zoning.
you know what? IG are making them work for the end here.
Making them sweat right now. And it's such a big lead right here for AL that it feels like it shouldn't be the case. But still, 6,000 gold, as much as that is a big chunk, I said 6,000 gold the lead, what, 10 minutes ago? They haven't really been able to expand that lead out any further. It feels like they've stalled a little bit. The thing that is really keeping AL fully in control of this game is that 5 towers to 0. They are so far ahead in terms of those towers. And with the 4 grubs and a Tristana on their team, they're just able to melt through these towers as soon as they step up. As much as the game has stalled a little bit, now the Baron up and available. Once AL grab that one, you'd have to think that's all they're going to need to be able to crack this base open and likely win this game.
Yeah. 2.5 items now for Rookie. Just maybe a 1,000 and a few hundred gold shy of a 3rd item on this Yone. If IG were somehow able to stall the game long enough for Rookie to hit 3 items on this Yone, there could be a chance.
There's
you
a
layer
chance.
the CC, and once again, we arrive to the same concerns we had for anyone's Legends composition when this was first drafted, is that you don't have a real front line. Most of these champions are carries. Some of them are going to be, you know, healthier than others in terms of, you know, HP pool and durability. This Ambessa is going to probably get a death stance at some point. There's a Zhonya's on Tarzan. But if this Yone finds both Shanks and Hope with a clean combo and everyone from IG is able to dogpile and eliminate them from the beginning of the fight, suddenly it's winning for IG because that's where the majority of the gold leads are on anyway.
Yeah, if Meiko and Rookie can pair up to be able to get a couple of knockups into that massive Fate Sealed, there is a chance. The thing is, it's getting harder and harder to do. Like you said, there's going to be more survivability coming through onto Flandre, and that Knight's Edge right here onto Hope, and the Zhonya's onto Tarzan just makes being able to actually go in and get yourself that full advantage that you really want on these team fights so much trickier, because you need to get these kills down quickly. These longer extended team fights where Tristana's allowed to get a reset, you do not win those.
I definitely still think anyone's Legend has the complete agency to win this game. But I'm just pointing out, you know, the small percentage chances and how that could happen. I'm pointing out the alternate timelines that we could skew on in the multiverse of the LPL. Now, teleport is coming in. Anyone's Legend thinking about ripping this Baron, if not baiting IG in to face check the Baron, get a guaranteed numbers advantage off the pick, and then secure the objective. But they're ripping it right now, and the rest of IG, they know. But Kael with the perfect Keeper's Verdict is able to punt away Jiejie, and that's the Baron gone. Kael completely chunked out of the fight, but IG don't get a chance to look for another engage. Everyone from anyone's Legend already backs out of the river and resets.
And as we said, this is going to be the key thing to be able to crack open the base right here for AL. They've got plenty of tower damage if they can only step up to be able to do so. And now with the Baron, going to be that much easier to do. Kael, I think, has had an MVP performance in this game. If AL do manage to win this one out, he's just looked so good. The one death that he had stood right next to the base wasn't ideal, but that's the only real mistake I've seen from him. He's been a real facilitator in this game, which is great from a player we barely highlighted coming into today, because he'd been a little bit quiet in all of their previous games.
Yeah, this is very reminiscent of the very, very early performances from Kael on Anyone's Legend. When we first saw them in Demacia Cup, when we saw them day one in the group stage of Split 1. Afterwards, it seemed like Kael was starting to find some consistency issues as Hope forced to pop the Chain of Corruptions. He was getting threatened by Gala, who had popped his Edge of Night shield, but thankfully the rest of Anyone's Legend was waiting in the wings. Now Gala.
He spotted him. He's seen him. It's alright.
Okay.
Flandre stepped a little bit too far forwards, managed to get spotted out. Otherwise, he could well have found that public execution. Now it's just going to be the pressure right here onto the towers. RIG going to try go in. Yes, they are.
Glacial Prison, right onto the front. Kael, Keeper's Verdict, stuns
great
the ball
knock
up,
up.
and Tarzan with the Q flash forward. That's a mega lilting lullaby if I've ever seen one, and the rest of Anyone's Legend is ready to jump in on the slumber party. And the rest of them are going to just take the tier 2 tower. Rest of IG now down to Rookie and Gala. But I don't know if they're going to be strong enough to hold this defense against Anyone's Legend. There's a lot of chunked health bars. Gala and Rookie would have to perform a miracle. They're still a fate sealed.
Yeah.
All eyes on Rookie to find a miracle engage, to set himself up, to set up Gala. Meiko is back.
You gotta go. You can't just wait.
Gotta go for
Where
it.
is
Q
it?
flash. There's the fate
Oh,
seal,
he
but
whiffed.
they flash it. The Q3 only finds one, and Gala throws out one last true shot barrage for the game, as he's not gonna get a chance to play Ezreal again this series. Game 1 goes over to Anyone's Legend.
Oh my lord, what a game right there from AL. This is what we needed to see from them. This is the kind of dominant victory that AL needed to fully show. No. It was a fluke. It was a mistake that we ended up losing right here to top in quite as, well, convincing as a fashion as that one did. They needed a convincing win here against another one of the top teams, and IG, they barely got themselves into that game. There are a couple moments late on enough where you're thinking, maybe they could go for something. No, every single time the door was maybe cracking ajar, Kael was like, no, slammed it shut immediately. What a performance.
You know, just like the job market right now. You think that you got a chance, to get an interview? Nope. You're shoved out the company front door, say thank you. You're going to have to pay for a parking ticket fee too, Tough luck, buddy.
Keep his verdict on out of there.
That's right. That's the breaks, for IG. I want to go back to something about the draft phase, because I have a little hypothesis, Bloxer, that I want to discuss with you, and I want to see if you can entertain it, or we can discuss it further. So we go back to that point in the draft where Anyone's Legend could have locked in that Poppy specifically for Flandre or another tank, and that would have given them a guaranteed front line that would have made Invictus Gaming's composition really dependent on some type of magic damage source coming from the bot lane, since that was the only role that had not been locked in yet. What if Anyone's Legend saw the future? They said, we have Tristana mid, we have Varus bot, we have pushing lanes. No matter what they pick bot lane, we've already banned the Misfortune. Nothing else can match the mid and bot push. I think we're pretty sold on this game, and you know what? Instead of picking a tank that we might rather have later on in the Fearless draft, we're just going to lock in the Mbessa. The Mbessa's going to do whatever. Flandre's going to do whatever on the champion. And you know what? Credit to Flandre. He was fine. He landed some public executions. He was there. He was fighting with the team. But now, they don't have to deal with Mbessa anymore. It's gone. They eliminated it.
I like it.
Big brain.
It was big brain. And clearly, they knew that the Poppy would look really, really good right here into that bot lane. Into that matchup right there, and just take it all the way through. Kael looked amazing. I mean, look at that gold graph, right? It is just insane quite how much he was able to do for the team. and it really didn't feel like anybody was able to quite pop off. This is one of the lowest damage Ezreal games I've seen in a while. I've seen a lot of Ezreals, even in losses, do about 40,000, but you could just never step up as the Ezreal because Kael was always there as a gatekeeper, stopping everybody from being able to step up and do what they needed to. Just a great performance out of everybody on AL, and like you said, they've now got a ton of these top tier tanks still available to them later on. The Ambessa didn't look great, right? It wasn't the thing that was able to pop off in this game.
I mean, look, man.
It ends down gold. TheShy is still up in gold as that game ends. He's up 300 gold when the Nexus falls. But it just doesn't matter, right? Because there was no moment in which TheShy's Jace was actually able to step up again because everybody else on the team was doing so much work to buy space for these carries. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. The game was not decided by top lane.
No.
This game.
Not even slightly.
And you know, that feels kind of bad for TheShy because it seemed like he made a great adaptation going Electrocute. To give himself a little bit more lane dominance and try and spike with those lethality items to burst out these squishies. But we talked about it. Level 1, Tarzan, using the power of Lilia level 1 into double melees of Yone and Sejuani. You have a Tristana level 1 that can pretty much space them with the power of range. You're able to contest for Raptors early on and make it super difficult for Jiejie to actually contest you. And the bot lane had pushed, so then Tarzan could continue trying to make Jiejie's life really miserable this game. It's not often we see junglers be that upfront and aggressive in the enemy jungler, enemy jungle like that. But Tarzan has always been one of the junglers in the LPL that when he gets a chance to do it, he does not let up the pressure at all.
No. And on champions where you wouldn't necessarily expect them to be playing like that. You know, you can very much on the Lilia just sit in your own jungle, go into the enemy jungle occasionally to try